Hey, this is Bill with 40% Better. Sorry for the shaky camera. Uh, the topic for this podcast is initiative and why it's so important in number one, your individual contributor career path, but also to get into leadership roles in any kind of company. Uh, I first got exposed to this very explicitly in college. I was working at a restaurant that was it's a very good restaurant. It was one of the most expensive restaurants in town, if not the most expensive. And they liked to hire people with no restaurant experience because they wanted people who didn't already have bad habits. And in the interview process, they actually talked about how they wanted to see people display initiative because everybody started at the very, very bottom rung and you were moved up and promoted up the ladder by displaying initiative and by doing things. And they explained what that meant. They said, clearly it's doing your own job effectively, rapidly, and very a lot of time awareness. So you gotta be punctual, obviously. And it was also about helping other people in the organization to achieve what they were working on. Okay, great. I can understand that. I can do that. And as I learned what other people were doing, because I started at the very bottom on the floor, I was a runner to begin with, which meant I was lower than the busboys. But I wanted to become a busboy. And so I learned everything they did. I supported them. I asked them if they needed help. And oftentimes they said yes. And in a couple of months, I got promoted. And then I spent a couple of years as a busboy, learning, understanding what the things were that the waiters were doing, slowly taking on more and more of the responsibilities of the waiters so that I became more desirable as a teammate for the waiters because they knew that I would be willing to take a lot of the work off of their plates. Didn't really mean to use that as an example, but considering it's a restaurant I'm talking about, that's kind of funny. So that's what I did, right? I learned, I used initiative. Years later, when I went to work as a mechanic, I did the exact same thing. I studied books like crazy, really, really dove deep into the history of the cars that we were working on. I did my work. I was an apprentice. I was helping other mechanics in the shop. I was doing everything I possibly could to understand every little piece of the work that needed to be done so that I could start getting full-blown car projects to work on. And in a few months, I got my first car to work on. And I was delighted because I'd already been doing and been proving that I could do individually under supervision all the tasks that needed to be done. And then suddenly, here's your own V12 Ferrari, tune it, right? It was amazing. Initiative also helped me get into my first tech job. Talking with a friend of mine, he happened to have a startup, he needed some help, asked him what was going on. He said he needed to get in contact with some people, he wanted to talk to them about providing services. And I said, oh, I know these guys. I'm a client of theirs and I see them on a pretty regular basis. We're on first name basis. When I walk in, they actually know who I am because I've been in their businesses often enough and spent enough money that they remember me. We've had pretty deep conversations about the equipment. Great. Can you make some sales calls for me? I said, of course, I'd be happy to make some sales calls. That turned into getting hired and then learning how to code, and that was the start of my whole tech career. I just took the initiative to help somebody out, right? The next company that I went to, same thing. I took the initiative to go talk to a stranger at a job fair. Someone who was just sitting off on the side by themselves. That turned out that I got hired there. And in that company, because I was talking to people and helping people and being really curious, I got my first team lead role. And I got to build solutions for other parts of the business. It was always because I was taking initiative. And it was little things that I was doing. Nothing ever felt like it was a big deal. It was always little, tiny, very manageable, maybe in some cases a little bit uncomfortable, but very manageable pieces. It was the initiative of taking those baby steps. Keep in mind that when I started down this path, I had pretty bad social anxiety. So things that for a lot of people seem really easy, like talking to the folks on the marketing team when you're in engineering, for me was actually initially quite challenging. It was getting over that hump of starting the conversations. The way that I was able to do it was I just went over and said, hi, my name's Bill, and I'm part of this new team, this new division of the company, and I'm I'm curious to know what you guys do. And they would talk to me. They would tell me, right? Because they weren't used to people coming in and being curious and saying, hey, what is it you guys do, right? That was an opportunity for them to share their wisdom. And over time, for me, it became comfortable having conversations, but it also was comfortable for them to share challenges they were having. And that gave me a space to actually start to build solutions for them, which got me noticed by the executives and, by the way, got me promoted in more and more interesting projects. That pattern happened at pretty much every company I ever went to, right? Even when I went in leadership roles, I got offered better projects for myself and my team because of the things that I was doing in the company, the initiative that I was taking. How do you take initiative, you might ask? Well, it's little things. It's very small, like being curious about how other folks operate, done consistently, repeatedly, with the goal of, number one, learning about those other teams, learning what it is they're doing, but number two, being able to understand the problems they're struggling with and maybe have a solution, right? And maybe that the problem they're struggling with is directly related to whatever it is you're working on, right? Irrespective of what it is that you do, there may be a very strong cross connect there that hasn't been part of the conversation in the leadership teams or other parts of the business, and now you can actually help solve that problem. I've done this kind of thing repeatedly, so I'm speaking from a lot of experience of having talked with folks, realizing there's a problem, realizing it's a problem that nobody's talking about, and then my team and I being able to figure out a way to solve that problem, and those teams being very happy that, oh, hey, this is awesome, we got this problem solved that we thought was never going to get solved. Having that little bit of initiative, right? That little tiny bit, it's a compound interest thing. It builds up over time. Imagine if you had an investment that paid you 1%. Yeah, not such a big deal, right? Except that if it compounded every day, that would be a big deal, right? Even if it was just simple addition and it compounded every day, you triple your money in the course of a year. I think about that with work. What are little tiny pieces I can do every day that are a little bit better than what was happening yesterday? And don't worry if you spend a week or even a month doing things that don't seem like they're an improvement on a day-to-day basis, because oftentimes we don't see the improvement until we look in the rearview mirror and we look back and we go, oh wow, that's actually, that is way better than it was. So be comfortable with that. Take the initiative to just do a little tiny thing, right? I do little things that are uncomfortable, a little bit uncomfortable every day. And I get to see the benefits of that compound interest build up over time. That's the magic of it. Hope this helps. If you want to talk more, as always, send me a DM. Contact information is in the show notes, and hope you're having a good day. Thanks.